Have you ever heard of a hero who was rejected by almost every branch of the military, only to become the most decorated soldier of World War II? This is the incredible story of Audie Murphy, a man whose smallest frame carried the biggest heart, and whose fight didn't end when he came home from the war. Audie Leon Murphy was born into grinding poverty in Texas in 1925. He was one of 12 children, and life was a daily battle for survival. His father abandoned the family, and when his mother passed away, 16-year-old Audie was left to care for his younger siblings. He learned to hunt not for sport, but for food, shouldering responsibilities far beyond his years. When Pearl Harbor was attacked, Audie saw enlisting as his duty, but also as a lifeline for his family. But his path to service was anything but easy. At just 5'5" and weighing a little over 100 pounds, he looked more like a boy than a soldier. The Marines said he was too short. The Navy said no. Even the Army initially turned him away. But Audie Murphy never took no for an answer. He persisted. And in 1942, the Army finally accepted him. After rigorous training, he was shipped to Europe with the 3rd Infantry Division. He fought through campaigns in Sicily, Italy, and France. On the battlefield, his slight build was deceiving. Audie wasn't reckless. He was fiercely determined. He was a quick learner, a protector of his comrades, and a leader who stepped up when others faltered. With each battle, his reputation for bravery grew, earning him promotions and medals. He'd dash through enemy fire to rescue wounded friends, lead daring attacks when his officers were down, and hold his ground against impossible odds. Then came January 1945, near Holtzwihr, France. This was the moment that would cement his legend. His unit was ambushed by a much larger German force, complete with tanks. Audie ordered his men to fall back to a safer position, but he stayed. Wounded and alone, he climbed onto a burning American tank destroyer, seized its 50-caliber machine gun, and unleashed hell on the advancing enemy. For nearly an hour, he single-handedly held them off, all while calling in artillery strikes on his radio. When he finally ran out of ammunition, he didn't retreat. He limped back to his men and led them in a successful counterattack that pushed the Germans back. He was only 19 years old. For this unbelievable act of valor, Audie was awarded the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military decoration. By the war's end, he had received every combat award for valor the U.S. Army had, plus honors from France and Belgium. He was, quite simply, the most decorated American soldier of the war. Returning home should have been a triumphant end to his story. He was a national hero, met with parades and public adoration. But inside, Audie was fighting a new, invisible war. The cheers of the crowd couldn't drown out the echoes of combat. He suffered from severe insomnia, terrifying nightmares, and debilitating anxiety. He slept with a loaded pistol under his pillow, constantly on edge, his body still believing it was in a trench. Today, we call this post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Back then, it was just called battle fatigue, a condition that was poorly understood and often stigmatized. Hollywood came calling, seeing a movie star in the young hero. Audie embarked on a successful acting career, appearing in over 40 films. In a surreal turn of events, he even starred as himself in the movie adaptation of his autobiography, To Hell and Back. On screen, he relived the very battles that haunted his nights. For the public, he was the embodiment of American courage. For Audie, acting was a way to process his trauma, a form of therapy in a time when therapy was rarely discussed. And that's what made Audie Murphy a different kind of hero. He refused to suffer in silence. He broke the unspoken rule among veterans of his era and spoke openly about his mental health struggles. He publicly criticized the government for its failure to provide adequate psychological support for returning soldiers. He used his fame to shine a light on the invisible wounds of war, arguing that a soldier's battle often continues long after they leave the battlefield. His voice was challenging, uncomfortable, but absolutely necessary. Tragically, Audie Murphy's life was cut short. He died in a plane crash on May 28, 1971, at the age of 45. He was buried at Arlington National Cemetery with full military honors. But per his own request, his headstone is a simple, standard-issue grave, identical to that of any other soldier buried there. He didn't want to be set apart in death. Audie Murphy's legacy is twofold. We remember him for his almost superhuman bravery in the face of the enemy. But perhaps more importantly, we remember him for his courage to confront his own demons and to fight for his fellow veterans. He taught us that heroes feel pain, that the end of a war is just the beginning of another fight for many, and that true strength isn't about never falling, it's about getting back up and asking for help when you need it. He survived the war, then spent the rest of his life showing the world how to survive its memory. If you or someone you know is struggling, please remember that reaching out is a sign of strength. There are resources available, and you are not alone. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I do, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories of incredible lives.